All right, guys, hello. We are going to do a review of combining like terms. And you may have learned it a couple different ways. I am going to show you the DJ Tay way, all right? So the directions say to simplify each expression by combining like terms. But before I can even jump into that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get my name. DJ Tay, whoop whoop. And today's date is December 1st. And let's see, I am going to represent my class period. I'm going to do class period number 7. All right, so let's look at this. Number 1, -7 plus 13x plus 2x plus 8. So I'm going to look at this first term, and I see the first term is -7. I like to do something interesting to it. So this first term, I am going to put a squiggly underline there. Now, I see that -7, even though it's negative, it's still a constant. Remember our parts of an expression. This is just a number, so it's a constant. So I need to look at the rest of my terms and see if I have another constant that's like that. And I do. I have an 8 here. But remember, I can't just say 8. I have to look and see what's happening with that 8, and it's being added. So I have that plus 8. Okay, so next, let's look at the next term. I'm going to put a box around it with that operation. Remember, you're grabbing the operation each time. So this is a plus 13x. So I need to look, and I only have one term left, and that's plus 2x. And so I'm looking to see this x with no exponent. Do I have a term like it? Yep, for 2x, it also has an x with no exponent. So I'm going to put a box around this as well. So now that I've gone ahead and I've identified what terms are alike, it's time for me to pull them up next to each other to collect them, so to speak. So I could do this a couple ways. The first one, I have -7, and then I have a plus 8. So I could write this here, -7 plus 8. And you may be saying, whoa, 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 what's going on here? I can take care of this in a couple ways. I can put in my calculator that minus sign for that -7. Excuse me, so I put the 7, and then I put that minus, all right? And then I'm going to add 8 to it. And notice it gives me 1. So -7 plus 8 gives me 1. But because I am moving these, I have a positive 8. I can simply put this first and then put my -7. And 8 minus 7 gives me 1. Remember, I'm already taking these with the operations and moving them around. So I can cross them the way I need to, as long as I am maintaining the proper operations in front of them, okay? So that equals a 1. So that 1 is going to go in my final summary. This down here is where I'm going to put my final summary. Next, I need to move this. I have this plus 13x, and it's telling me to add 2x. Well, if I have 13 of the x's and I add 2 more x's, I am getting 15 x's total. All right, so I am adding 15 x's here. All right, so this is our final answer for this first one. 1 plus 15x. Okay, let's go to number 2. Let's go to number 2. 9 plus 7y minus 2 minus 5y. So I'm going to start with the very first term. This time I'm going to circle it. So I'm going to circle my 9. And it doesn't have a plus or a minus in front of it, so we know that it's positive. It's being added. All right? So do I have any terms that's like it? Well, this is a constant. I have to find another constant, and I see a 2 there. So what kind of 2? It's telling me to subtract 2. So I'm going to circle the operation in that 2. All right, now let's go to the next term. It is plus 7y. So I am going to double underline that, plus 7y. And now I need to see, I'm looking at that variable there. Remember, the coefficients can be different, but the variable and exponents on the variables have to be the same. So I'm looking for a y without a variable on it. And do I have another term like that? Indeed, I do. Minus 5y. All right, so just like kind of like pulling puzzles, all right, I am going to pull this, and I want to actually show you guys that. It's kind of, I do think of them like pulling puzzles, okay? So I just want to go back to this first one and show you what I mean. So I have negative 7. I have a term that is plus 13x. I have a term that is plus 2x. And then we have a term that is a plus 8. All right, so I know that these two terms are like terms. So I'm going to put those next to each other. And I know that these two terms are like terms. So I'm putting these two next to each other. So this one is simple, 13x plus 2x. That's how I got to my 15x. Now I'm looking at this one, and I have my minus 7 and my plus 8. Well, let me put these puzzle pieces, put these pieces next to each other, make it a little easier for me. 8 minus that 7. And then that's how I got my 1. So I know I went backwards a little bit, but I thought I wanted to show you that real quick for that first one. All right, so back to business for number 2. We have our 9 and our minus 2. So let me go ahead and pull this. 9 minus 2. And I know that that equals 7. Okay, so 7 is going in my final summary. Now I know I have a plus 7y minus 5y. So if I'm adding something, I want to add this 7y, but wait, I have to take away 5 of them first. And if I have 7 y's and I take away 5 of them, I am left with 2y. So I am putting that 2y in my final summary. So 7 plus 2y is what this simplified down to. All right, let's look at number 3. Okay, so our first term, another constant, awesome. So I have this 2 here. I am going to put a box around this 2. And that's a constant, so let me look and see if I have any other constants. I do. So I'm going to put a box around my plus 6. And my next term, I'm going to put a squiggly underline under it. It's a plus 3x. And I have a term that's like that, minus 4x. All right. So let's go ahead and pull these. And this one is a tricky one. So I'm going to show you how to work this one as well. All right. So I have my 2 plus my 6. And 2 plus 6 equals 8. So I know that that 8 is going into my final summary. All right. So now I have to go ahead and look at this 3x minus 4x. All right. 3x minus 4x. Well, you may be saying, if I have 3 or something and I take away 4, what in the world? I want you to think of this. Sometimes, guys, we talked about negative situations. I want to talk to you about this. We talked about negative situations before. Now, in this problem above, the 7 was less, that was negative, was less than an 8. So I could simply just say, well, let me subtract. Well, this time, the number that is negative or have a subtraction is bigger. This 4x is bigger than 3x. So we're going to operate with this one a little differently. So a quick way to do it is say, okay, if I have 3 and I'm taking away 4 of them, I have, look at that, negative 1. So this means that I have negative 1x left. So I could say negative 1x, or I could simply just say minus x. Because remember that invisible 1. Okay, but let me also tell you kind of like a little story to help you think of this. All right. So I owe Mr. Cannon $4. Yeah, that minus 4x. I owe him $4. Now, Mr. Cannon is going to be coming and looking for that $4 soon. But guess what I did? I spent some of my money that I brought to pay him back. I spent it at the vending machine, guys. Terrible idea, but I did. So I'm only going to be able to give him 3 of his dollars left. How many dollars do I still owe him? I still owe him $1. All right, I still owe him $1. So that's at minus 1x. That's $1 I still owe him. I want to show you another way. Excuse my drawing of this. If we are looking at a number line, all right, I'm going to just draw a quick number line. Remember that we have our positives and our negatives. We talked about this in Unit 1, about our positive and negative situations. All right. So here we're starting at a plus 3. All right. In this case, it's plus 3x. So I am here. I am at this plus 3. And then it is telling me to go backwards to subtract 4. So I'm not going to go further into higher and higher numbers. I'm going to go backwards. So that means I'm going to make 4 of these jumps. Let's see, from 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is where I land, at negative 1. All right. All right, so those are just a few ways of showing you guys how to do that. All right, let's look at number 5. 5 plus 2x plus 2. So I'm going to start with my 5, and that's a constant, and I see a constant of plus 2. So I have 5 plus 2. That equals 7. 7 is going into my summary. So now I just have a plus 2x left. I have no terms like it. So I'm simply putting my plus 2x. And this is my final answer, 7 plus 2x. All right, let's look at number 5. Number 5. All right, so we have this plus 1x over here, but we first have to take care of this distributive property. All right, we first have to take care of this distributive property. So I'm going to distribute this 2 over to 4x. 2 times 4x will give me 8x. And then I see it subtracting. Now I need to go 2 times 1 gives me 2. So I have now simplified this distributive property. So now I need to bring down the rest of it, plus x. And again, we know that it just has x. That means it's plus 1x, that invisible 1. So now I could do with this what I've done to all of these other problems. Look at my first term. I'm going to circle it. It's 8x. I'm going to see if I have any terms like it, and I do. This plus this 1x. All right. And then I have left minus 2. All right. So 8x plus an x. So if I have 8 of them and I add one more, I have a total of 9 of my x's. All right. And now I just have this minus 2. I have no terms to combine that with. So I am simply putting that in my final summary. So simplifying this one, the final answer is 9x minus 2. All right, let's look at the number 6. We have 6x plus, and then look here, we have another distributive property here. So I'm going to simplify this distributive property first. So 2 times x gives me my 2x. And I see it's adding. And now I'm going to distribute that 2 times 4 gives me 8. And now I'm going to bring down, now that I've finished simplifying that, I'm going to bring down my 6x. And now I can work with this like the rest of them. I have my first one is 6x. And I see a like term of plus 2x. So if I have 6 x's and I add 2 more x's, that gives me a total of 8 x's. So I'm putting my 8x there. And then last, I just have plus 8. Nothing to combine that to, so I'm just adding plus 8. So my final answer to simplify this is 8x plus 8. All right, let's look at number 7. Number 7 has another distributive property one. So let's work on this first. Let's simplify the distributive property section. 3 distributed to the x is 3 times x, so that gives me 3x. I see we're adding. And now I'm going to multiply 3 times 5. That gives me 15. Now that I'm done simplifying this part, I need to now bring down the rest of my expression. So minus 10. Now I can go ahead and get to work. So I have this first one, 3x. But hey, notice I do not have any other terms that has just an x, that has an x in it. So I just have 3x in my summary. And now let's look at this. I have a plus 15 and I have a minus 10. Well, if I have 15 minus 10, because I want to add this 15, but I need to first subtract 10 from it. And that gives me 5. So my final answer is 3x plus 5. All right, let's look at the next one. 15x minus 1 times parentheses x plus 4. Okay, so this is a distributive property problem. All right, distributive property problem. So we have this negative 1 out here. So it's not just a 1. It's not just a plus 1. It's a negative 1 that we need to distribute. So if I go, and some of you may be like, what the what? All right. And so if I go and I am going to distribute this negative 1 to this x, and this one is meant to give you a little bit of a challenge. So if I'm distributing this negative 1 times the x, and notice there's no coefficient in front of that x, so it's just a 1. So that would be like saying I have a 1. Excuse me, I'm going to put my negative here, put my 1. All right, so I have a negative 1 times just 1. And that's just going to give me still a negative 1. So that means it's going to be a negative 1x, or just negative x. All right. And then now I see it's, I'm going to now multiply this negative 1 times 4. See, I'm adding here. Negative 1 times 4. So I could go ahead and I could put in my calculator. Put my 1. And some of you may not know on these basic calculators. Now, on your calculator, you may have a negative and positive button there, and that's great. If you are using one of the school calculators, then for a negative 1, you would go ahead and you would hit, while you have it on clear, you would hit the minus symbol in the number 1 and hit the minus again, and you would see it pop up there. to say that it's a negative 1, okay? So a negative 1 times, and that's a positive 4. So just times a regular 4. And notice that your answer is a negative 4. All right? So negative 1 times 4 is negative 4. All right. So I have now distributed. I've completed this portion. All right. And so now I see I have 15x that I need to bring down. And there's nothing in front of the 15x. So that means I'm adding 15x. Okay. So I could have put it over here or over there. It doesn't matter. So, and let's just for you, so you could rewrite it if you wanted to. You could say it's a 15x here. And then we did our minus x plus negative 4. Let me tell you, another way of saying plus negative 4 is just to say minus 4. So you could write it either way. I'm going to write it here as minus 4. All right, so same thing, just rewritten. So now, let me go ahead. I have 15x. That's a term. And I also have another term like it, minus x. So if I have 15 of the x's, and I'm subtracting one of them, I'm left with 14 of the x's. So 14x is going into my summary here. So now I just have minus 4 here. So I could put in my minus 4. Or if you insist, you could say plus a negative 4. That is up to you. All right, guys. So that is the final simplified answer for number 8. I hope this helped going over a review of combining like terms. Thanks, guys.